Imagine a world where almost everything you know is gone. The forests are dying, the oceans are collapsing, the sky is filled with ash. Temperatures are changing faster than life can adapt, and somewhere beneath the destruction, a few animals are still alive. They don't look like superheroes. They don't have incredible intelligence. They don't have technology. But somehow, they survive when millions of other species disappear. And here's the terrifying part. Some of these survivors are still alive today. Earth has experienced several mass extinction events, moments when enormous numbers of species disappeared in relatively short periods of geological time. But extinction doesn't mean every living thing dies. Every catastrophe leaves survivors. And the animals that survive can completely change the future of life on Earth. One of the greatest examples happened around 252 million years ago. It became known as the Great Dying. Volcanic eruptions across what is now Siberia released enormous amounts of gases into the atmosphere. Global temperatures rose. Oceans became dangerously depleted in oxygen. Ecosystems collapsed. Scientists estimate that around 90% of marine species and a huge proportion of land species disappeared. For life on Earth, it was almost an apocalypse, but something survived. Among the survivors were early relatives of animals that would eventually become some of the most important creatures on the planet. And then came a strange group of reptiles. Crocodile-like animals would eventually become part of one of the most successful lineages in Earth's history. Modern crocodilians can trace their ancestry back through a very long evolutionary history, and their body design has remained remarkably successful. They can survive in water and on land. They can go for long periods without food. They are powerful predators, but they don't need to constantly hunt. In a world where food becomes scarce, that matters. But crocodilians aren't the only survivors with an ancient story. Deep in the ocean lives another animal that looks like it escaped from Earth's distant past: the coelacanth. For decades, scientists thought this fish had disappeared around the same time as the dinosaurs. Then, in 1938, a living coelacanth was discovered off the coast of South Africa. It was one of the greatest surprises in modern zoology. The coelacanth wasn't literally a creature frozen unchanged for hundreds of millions of years. Evolution had continued, but its lineage had survived for an astonishing amount of time. And that raises a bigger question. How does an animal survive when the world around it keeps changing? Sometimes, the answer isn't strength. It's being difficult to kill. Consider the horseshoe crab. It looks almost alien. A hard shell, multiple eyes, strange legs, a long tail. But its lineage reaches back hundreds of millions of years. Horseshoe crabs survived major changes in climate, oceans, continents, and ecosystems. They survived worlds where giant reptiles dominated. They survived the extinction that eliminated the non-avian dinosaurs. And they are still crawling across beaches today. But survival doesn't always mean remaining powerful. Sometimes it means becoming incredibly efficient. Sharks are another example. Their evolutionary history stretches back hundreds of millions of years, long before the first dinosaurs. They survived enormous changes in the oceans and multiple extinction events. Some shark lineages disappeared, others adapted, and the survivors continued evolving into the incredible diversity of sharks we know today. But perhaps the strangest survivor is one that looks almost ordinary: the tuatara. It lives only in New Zealand. At first glance, it looks like a lizard, but it isn't actually a lizard. It belongs to a much older reptile lineage that was once far more widespread. Today, tuataras are the only surviving members of their entire order. Imagine that. An entire branch of reptile evolution reduced to one living lineage, and yet it survived. But there is something even more important about all these animals. None of them survived because they were guaranteed to. There was no master plan. No species was chosen to continue. Evolution doesn't protect organisms because they are important. Survival is often about timing, environment, behavior, reproduction, and pure chance. A species can be incredibly successful for millions of years and disappear almost overnight on geological timescales. Meanwhile, a small, strange animal hiding in the right environment can survive. That lesson became painfully clear 66 million years ago. An asteroid struck Earth near what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The impact released enormous amounts of energy. Dust and debris entered the atmosphere. Wildfires spread. Climate conditions changed. Food chains collapsed. Non-avian dinosaurs disappeared. But not everything died. Small mammals survived. Birds survived. Crocodilian relatives survived. Turtles survived. Some insects survived. And those survivors inherited a world that suddenly had enormous amounts of ecological space. This is where the story takes an unexpected turn. The survivors weren't simply lucky animals that escaped extinction. They became the ancestors of entire new worlds. Mammals diversified dramatically. Birds spread into new environments. Plants recovered. Ecosystems rebuilt themselves. The apocalypse didn't just destroy life, it reset the planet. And the creatures that survived became the starting point for what came next. But there is one final question. What actually makes an animal an apocalypse survivor? Is it size? No. Some of the largest animals disappear. Is it intelligence? Not necessarily. Is it strength? Definitely not. The best survivors are often the animals that can tolerate change. They can eat different foods. They can live in different environments. They can survive periods without food. They reproduce effectively. And when the world changes, they can change with it. That's why the most terrifying survivors aren't necessarily the biggest monsters. They can be small. They can be slow. They can look completely ordinary. Because survival isn't about dominating the world. It's about remaining when the world changes. And perhaps that's the most incredible thing about Earth. The planet has been almost destroyed before, more than once. Oceans have collapsed. Climate has changed. Continents have moved. Species have vanished by the millions. And yet, life kept going. Somewhere in the darkness, something survived. Then it reproduced. Then it evolved. And eventually, it became part of the world we know today. So the next time you see a horseshoe crab on a beach, a crocodile resting in a river, a shark moving through the ocean, or a bird flying overhead, remember this: you aren't just looking at an animal, you're looking at a survivor, a living branch of a story that began long before humans ever existed. And if Earth ever faces another apocalypse, the biggest question may not be which species will disappear. It may be, which ones will still be here when it's over?